your show.
No rules! That's what I'm talking about.
Dogs on the Run begins now.
Oh boy, hi everybody, welcome to Dogs on the Run. Andre is currently at University Hospital. He's checking out Johnny Manziel's hamstring MRI to make sure that he's okay. So he is on assignment for the first couple minutes of the show. He will be here in just a couple seconds, but welcome to Dogs on the Run. If it's the first time we've seen the show, welcome. We're glad to have you on board. For everybody else that's been hanging with us throughout the season, for now in our second season, as we start to wind things down next week, thanks for being with us. Remind you the easiest thing to do with the show is interact. That's what we love to do. You can do it on Skype at Dogs on the Run. We'll be talking to our man Tubby Dog here in a few seconds. Tim Couch is going to join us in just a few moments too, and we're going to do our Grade the Team segment. You can call us as well. Here's Andre, he just walked in the door. 216-431-3820. 216-431-3820. That is the number to call in. I do have one phone line open right now. If you do want to call in, a couple people hanging out on hold and a couple people hanging out on Twitter as well. Andre, you can put your mic on.
Andre, how many autographs did you have to sign out there, man? It was a long line.
We told people you were signing autographs outside. Then I told people you were at UH.
I was watching film.
Trying to find the MRI. You do look like you're in game wear. I feel kind of.
So you now know what Johnny Manziel needs to fix?
Short. I don't know why.
You're fine.
What are you saying?
Andre now knows what Johnny Manziel needs to fix after watching all that game film?
Yeah, exactly. He needs to be about 4 inches taller, I think.
Oh, that's easy. We can put him on the stretcher this week. He'll be good to go. All right, Andre, since you're here and you walked in the door and you're ready to roll, just your initial thoughts on yesterday's game.
I thought yesterday's game was a microcosm of the problems the team has. We could obviously talk about the quarterback a lot, but the defense, I mean, they're probably, when we look at the stats this morning, they're going to be the last in the NFL against the run. And I don't know where that came from. Maybe I haven't been paying attention. But I know it's back-to-back 200 yards.
Because we've spent the last 5-6 weeks talking about the quarterback.
And you're probably right. And it's sad that that's the case, to be completely honest, because I'm admitting, when I saw the stats and I go, man, they're 31st, 32nd against the run. Now, I know they've had a ton of injuries, but you can't do that, especially in this division. When you look at Pittsburgh with Bell, you look at Hill in Cincinnati, you look at Baltimore, who will play this week, who I don't know what happened to them yesterday. If you don't stop the run against those three teams, you're going to have issues going forward. Now, didn't we all say, I thought in the beginning of the year, the one plus on this team was defensively, or there was a defensive line and offensive line. And in week 17, that's not still the case. Is that because of injuries? I don't know.
I don't know. You're on your fourth center. I mean, what do you expect? I got problems with that. You have tons of injuries on defense. Everybody that you expected to be there isn't there right now.
I don't.
You look at Mingo yesterday. You finally see him in some plays. There have been times all season where I've been like, where is this guy?
I'll give you that. He has made plays where, he still is. And that's, can we talk about what Bernie Kosar talked about last week?
Sure, we can talk about anything you want.
One of the things.
There's no rules.
There's no rules. That's right. Well, that was one of the things Bernie, and I'm not standing up for Bernie. No matter how you feel about it, Bernie's his own man. He says what he wants. But that was one of the things Bernie was trying to touch on last week, but I think he emotionally got so involved with the quarterback stuff that he didn't get to. The Browns, where they're at, they can't miss on first-round picks. Not saying that they've missed on Mingo, but Mingo's been relatively quiet until like the last 3-4 weeks. The last 3-4 weeks, he's been a player.
I think it's Scott Solomon, though.
Yeah. Where'd they draft him?
I don't know, but he looked good.
He did look good. Did you ever find out what you tried to find out about him last night?
No, I didn't find out that information. Come on now, that's all underground.
All right, I was just checking.
We can't do that.
I think when you look at it, just all the first-round picks. I mean, Justin Gilbert, we can get into it later on. Justin Gilbert, is he a player? Right now, is he a starter? And I'm not here to beat up on Ray. It's not about beating up on Ray, but if he's not a player, and
who's that on? We talked about it on Sports Sunday last night.
Like if he's
is that on Mike?
Well, Mike wanted him, and we all applauded Mike when they got him. Yesterday was very indicative. Desir played more than he did, right?
Yes.
And so did.
But he played good the week before.
He did play good the week before.
And to be honest with you, he probably played better in practice, and that's why Mike played him.
He probably
He's
did.
been consistent on that.
Well, a guy like Kewan Williams. I know they play different positions.
Right.
But it's telling that your first-round picks aren't playing that much.
All right, 216-431-3820. Dogs on the Run, just like Donnie in Painesville. We're going to get to Tim Couch in a second. Donnie, what's up, man?
What's up, guys?
All right, what'd you think of yesterday's
Merry Christmas.
Game? Merry Christmas to you, too. What'd you think of the game?
I thought it was absolute crap until Manziel got hurt and Solomon started playing. I mean, that's, to me, what inspired the team to put some points on the board, to do well. I mean, what does that say about Johnny Football? I really think that Johnny Football is not the guy. I think we're all fooled by him. I really think that any trade value he did have, say we could have traded him to Dallas or something, that went out the window, in my opinion. So they might want to see about trying to get Hoyer to stay around and draft somebody and bring him up the right way. I think we all bailed on Hoyer a little too fast, and I think Mike Pettin learned the lesson. Stick with your gut feeling. Don't give in to the fans. Don't give in to your offensive coordinator. Because if he would have did that, there's no way we would have went scoreless last week. I really don't think that.
Hey, I don't know that Kyle Shanahan was all 100% going to Johnny football either.
Well, Donnie says something that's interesting. And Donnie, I watched you during the draft. You came out to our draft party and you were with us. You wanted Johnny to be here. He's only played 6 quarters?
Buyer's remorse. Do you have buyer's remorse?
Well, for as high as you drafted him,
yeah.
I hate to say it, doesn't Bubby Brister, and I hate saying this, doesn't Bubby Brister sound right now? 6th-round pick, maybe?
Yeah.
Merrill Hodge.
Yeah. I mean, I just know that you were high on him, Donnie. I know your thing on Instagram, or not Instagram, on Twitter. You had the Johnny Manziel figure and everything else. It's just surprising that you said it's maybe time to get rid of him.
Yeah, I mean, it's just. I mean, he's got no fundamentals. You've been saying it for 2 weeks. I mean, since last week, he's got no confidence. I mean, that hit he got when he got injured. Now they're saying it happened two series before. Come on. I mean, he shouldn't even been in the game. He should have said something. He just doesn't have it. The way he prepared from the time he got drafted, is he really going to change?
Yeah, it's the whole. He said it last night. Donnie, thank you for the phone call.
Take care, buddy. Good
have a
seeing
great
you.
Merry Christmas to you, too.
You too, buddy.
All right. Yeah, he said, I prepared really hard for the last 2 weeks. Well, what were you doing before that?
That's scary. No, I didn't. People were telling me because we were doing our show. But I guess last night on NFL Network, some of the players were. Deion Sanders kind of was like, he goes, I've never seen a guy hurt his hamstring getting hit like that. And
he also said it was 2 plays before.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that play.
Okay, and I hate questioning guys on injuries.
I heard it this morning, too.
Yeah.
Hey, Kevin Kiley made a great point. It was very convenient when it happened.
Yes, and that's kind of what NFL Network was saying. They're going, wait a minute. If your hamstring was hurt a couple plays before that, how did you run to the sideline? Because if you've ever had a hamstring, you're not running the way he ran to the sideline. I'm not questioning him. I don't want text messages and emails all day long. It was interesting when the hamstring.
Oh, that's going to come up today. I mean, I've never had a hamstring thing because I'm kosher, so it doesn't bother me at all. Let's go to Tim Couch. Hi, Tim. How are you?
Hey, I think Tim Couch should start next week because the powers that be right now are shining down on him. Look at his shot.
Oh, you do? Yeah. You've got like some lights from heaven coming down on you.
You got to start.
That's right.
That's the football gods telling us that he should start next
The
summer.
football gods want you back. I do want to thank you for wearing the Kent State varsity K hat for Andre and I.
Baseball hats, yes.
Didn't realize that you turned your loyalty away from Kentucky to Kent State. So thank you so much.
How you guys doing this morning?
Good, man. How you doing?
Good. This is crazy. Good. Tim, I mean, it's the same story every year, over and over and over again. Just your thoughts on yesterday and your thoughts on Johnny Manziel for the future.
It was another tough start for him yesterday. I think right now when I watch Johnny, I see a quarterback that's really lost with his fundamentals, and I think that's what's getting him in so much trouble. His footwork is terrible. He never gets his feet set, and I think that's why he can't get really any velocity on his throws. His footwork is taking his eyes to the wrong places. He's just not very fundamentally sound right now, and I think that's probably the biggest reason for his struggles early on. And he's obviously not, making the plays that he normally made. Coming out of college, the scramble plays that he made, just not there for him right now. He's finding out he's not the fastest guy on the field anymore, and he can't do that. So he's got a long way to go. I think that's pretty obvious. He's got a long way to go. Yesterday I thought he was, struggling again. I didn't see any improvement from the first week. Of what he's doing. He had one nice throw across the middle, but other than that, it was going to be a struggle again, I believe. So it was another tough start for him, and we'll see where he goes from here. But he's certainly a guy that's going to have to get into the offseason and work on those fundamentals and try to improve and make himself a better player.
Help us, Tim. What's the first step that you go out and because and Andy and I talked about this last night. Johnny's going to be Johnny. Mm-hmm. We're going to see him in the next couple of weeks in Texas. Probably Vegas. We know who he is. You can't take who he is away from him. But at some point in time, he's going to have to sit down, and you just talked about fundamentals. He's going to have to work on them. What's the first thing you work with him? Do you send him to a quarterback guru? Because at some points in times, for him to be himself, he has to use his feet. But right now, as you said, fundamentally, he can't use them in the pocket.
Right, and I go back to when he was in college. The year after he won the Heisman Trophy at A&M, that offseason, he really worked really hard, dedicated himself to becoming a better player within the pocket, and he worked with George Whitfield, and it seemed like his mechanics were improved. Even though his team wasn't as good, his second year there after the year after the Heisman, he was improved as a passer. I thought he was much more fundamentally sound. And I thought he had, kind of turned the corner on those things, and he would be a more improved player from the pocket. But, he's regressed in that area, in my opinion, this year. And I think, when the pressure's on and you don't feel comfortable with what you're doing mentally, you kind of revert back real quick to your instincts. And his instincts are to, kind of scramble around and play kind of backyard ball and not rely on those fundamentals because they're not rock solid yet. And, that's what you have to have. They have to become second nature to you. You have to drill them so much and have to rely on them when the pressure's on, because like I said, when that pressure turns up on you on Sunday, how solid you are in your fundamentals and footwork, those kind of things are that's kind of what's going to show.
Tim, how big do you think the playbook was for the Browns yesterday with Johnny Manziel? It felt kind of small.
Yeah, I don't think they're giving him a whole lot right now. I really don't, and I don't think they feel like they can put too much on him. I think he's a guy who's really thinking a lot as he, you can almost see him thinking as he drops back to pass, as opposed to, when Brian's in, you can see Brian, scanning the field, going through what the defense is giving him. Johnny's really in the thinking stages right now, and I think that's kind of what's causing him to deliver the football not on time. He's kind of, behind guys. He's not, anticipating throws. And those are things you can only do when you feel really comfortable with not only what you're doing, but what the defense is doing as well. And, so I don't feel like they can give Johnny a whole lot right now. I think they're just kind of, making it simple for him. A lot of, movement passes where they cut the field in half. They're not giving him a lot of full field reads. So he can, it's just a 1-2 type thing. And if it's not there, just try to tuck it and make something happen. And, I think that's kind of what we're seeing right now.
Tim, I was afraid after the first pass play of the game yesterday, he made one read and he started running. And instantly I cringed because I go, he's not comfortable because he didn't go through all of his reads. You made a comment earlier in the week, and I know I'm not going to say it perfectly, but you said when you were 21, 22, you were trying to live up to being the first pick in the draft. You were living up to everything you had done, and every throw was so, scrutinized that you really, kind of bit at it. Do you worry that that's where he is? Because that's the first thing I thought of your comments after that first play, because I go, they made it an easy read, Johnny, and he made that one read, and it was scattered, run.
Right. Yeah, I think he is kind of doing that. And, when you're going through that, you don't really feel it at the time. But Johnny's a high-profile guy, and, he's one of the most scrutinized guys. Every throw that he makes, every time he steps on the field, it's headline news everywhere across the country. And, that's very, very difficult to play in because, it's a guy who's a young guy coming out of college early. Everyone knew it was going to be a big transition going to the NFL, changing his style of play, and you're kind of having to go through all that, and try to live up to all this hype that he's, a lot of it that he's created, by himself. He put a lot of it on himself with his, his off-season antics and all that kind of stuff, off the field stuff. But it's very tough. For me, I felt like I had to live up to, that #1 overall pick, and every time you make a throw, you almost feel like, okay, you want to show everybody, okay, that's why he was this. That's why he was that. That's why everyone's talking about him. And that can get you in a whole lot of trouble. And you don't even realize you're doing it because it, the pressure is just something that kind of comes on you with, what you carry, that moniker you carry of being a first round pick and all that kind of stuff. So it's something you really have to guard against. And I think Johnny probably doesn't even realize he's doing it, but you can definitely see a guy who's out there pressing, trying to force plays, trying to force the issue, and try to show everyone, he's worthy of all the hype that he gets.
All right, Eric, what do you got?
You guys were talking about the first play, Andre, and the one thing that I noticed, and Andy, we were talking about this, was the touchdown from Hoyer to Cameron on that 80-yard touchdown, the exact same play as the first play of the game with Manziel. Manziel, though, didn't wait, got rid of the ball too early, and if he would have waited, it looked like Jim Dre would have broken open for a big
Jordan
game.
Cameron. They were both
and
open.
Cameron, yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason that really opened it, you're right, to really open up is because the quarterback used his eyes to open it up. He was looking right, and right when Cameron made that cut, he comes to him and throws him the ball.
But that was for Hoyer. There was time in the pocket on Manziel's very first play of the game.
Yes.
The incomplete pass to Gordon. Tim, how much of that, though, is rookie guy coming out second week?
Pumped
I'm
up.
sure you practiced this play 100 times. this is what we're going to do on the first play of the game. This is what we don't want to do. This is what we want to do. When if you would have looked at the second or even third wide receiver on that first play of the game, we may have seen the same result as what Brian Hoyer saw. Yeah. But as much as we want to sit here and pick it apart, I still think you got to remember rookie quarterback, first play of the game.
Yeah, a lot of times, rookie quarterbacks, they're going to come out and predetermine a little bit where they're going to go with the football. And, like you said, during the week of practice, it's kind of, you run it against certain looks during the week that you're anticipating that they're going to be in. And so you just kind of come out early in the game and, say, okay, this is where this football is supposed to go, and you get rid of it too quickly when, in reality, a veteran quarterback, he's going to adjust on the move. You're going to see Brian do those type of things because he can adjust and say, okay, this is not the same look that we practiced this play against during the week of practice. And, I can get to my second, my third read, even my check down if I have to. And, right now Johnny's just not able to process it quickly enough to get to those second and third reads and deliver it on time.
All right, Tim, we're going to come back in a half hour. I want you to ponder this, though, before we come back. People want to give rookies a little bit of slack. I always do. I think you do, too. I think we all want to.
Sure.
Because
coaches, players, absolutely.
Yeah, it's just like any job. The question, though, goes back to the coaches. How much rookie slack is there going to be for Mike Pettin? How much rookie slack is there going to be for Ray Farmer? Ponder that. We'll talk about that in a half hour. Thanks, Tim.
Okay, thanks, guys.
All right, let's go back to the newsroom now, and Faith Boone is back there.
I know where you're going. Those are good questions.
Well, we brought that up a little bit last night. Faith, what's the good word on Twitter this morning?
Well, on Twitter, we're not getting too much. We're getting a lot more on Facebook this morning, actually. And really, it's a lot of people saying that we should have put Warrior in at the very beginning of the game instead of waiting until Johnny fell on his head and got a hamstring injury.
Are any people questioning Johnny's injuries at all?
I don't.
Are there people questioning it? Okay, so
only
Faith, but you
because of
realize
the fact that it looked like he kind of slid across on his head, and then it was a hamstring injury, and then he looked like he was walking fine afterwards.
Okay, but he said 2 plays earlier, the injury actually did not happen on the play that he left the game on.
Oh, okay.
So he's saying that it happened on the Gordon pass that was called back.
Actually a
that when he
series
fell
before,
down.
too.
It was a series before. He threw the ball to the bottom of the screen, and he fell down is where a lot of people were thinking the injury. Now, Andy, and I'm asking everybody involved, did anybody see it was reported that he had a head injury?
No.
Because there were some people that were kind of saying, is it a head injury? Is it a hamstring? I think it's his leg, obviously.
About a head injury.
Right. But I think it's the leg. I don't like questioning people about when they were hurt, but if you hurt a hamstring, you're not running to the sideline the way he ran to the sideline.
Exactly.
That's all I would say.
Here's my point on the whole thing. Look, I think if there is a hamstring injury, and I'm assuming
it is.
I'm going to say there's not. There's a hamstring injury there. It just works out to be kind of convenient at this point. I think there's nothing wrong with it. Look, you saw him for a game and a half. You saw what his deficiencies are going to be. You're not going to the playoffs. This is a trial and error thing. I think the coaching staff knew he wasn't ready. I think he knew he wasn't ready to a point. In fact, I'll even go back to the beginning of the season when Johnny said, I'm not ready. So now, hang on, you just keep going forward in this thing. We got to see him for a little bit last week. You got to start this week. You go back to Brian this week. Now you have all this tape for him to go back and look and say, here's what you did wrong here. You now have an entire offseason to try to rebuild him like the $6 million man.
Eric has something.
I got a question for you guys, and Faith, put this on social media. I want to see what people are saying.
Oh, he's barking out some orders there, Faith. Way to go,
Yes.
Eric.
Hey, I don't mind. I like that stuff.
Is it good? I mean, it's not good, but is it good to see Johnny Manziel actually fail? Because will this make him work harder in the offseason to try and correct his problem and maybe down the road be a better quarterback?
It's $1 million question, Eric.
First?
It's the $1 million question.
Well, wait, before I put this on social media, what do you think, Eric? Do you actually think he's going to change his behavior because he sucks?
I'm the referee. I don't answer questions.
Oh, you can't do that.
There you go.
Honestly, I
don't
got a good feeling. I don't have a good feeling about it. I think Manziel is realizing that the game is too big for him. Maybe he can fix it, but right now I think when he ran to the sideline and hurt his hamstring, he's like, wow, there are linebackers that can run as fast as me. And
Luke Kuechly didn't hit him, but Luke Kuechly made the play. That is amazing. That is an eye-opener. I don't care what anybody says. That was an eye-opener that Kuechly ran him down. And now, are people complaining about the play call? And I just got to get this off my chest.
That was actually something that I wanted to point out, too, is that somebody said that we totally should have gotten that.
Well, here's what I'll say. Everyone was so excited. What was two of the main reasons everybody was excited about Manziel? Oh, he can use his legs when the plays aren't there. then we get mad that they call a play to use his legs. Don't you feel?
I heard that this morning,
I'm
too.
not a big Kyle Shanahan fan. I'll say that up front. But I thought that's a play where they're going, hey, we're going to give you something that you're used to doing. We're going to give you a couple blocks. One is 16, I think, was on the outside on the safety. That's who is 16?
Hawkins?
Hawkins lets his safety get off of him. If he gets by, if Hawkins holds his block and he gets upfield, Kuechly probably knocks him into next week.
Sure.
But I can't fault Shanahan. What do you want? Shanahan's telling you, I'm calling plays that Johnny can run, right? I don't have a problem with him. Do you have a problem with him running that?
I don't have any problem with him running at all. He's a running quarterback.
Right.
Look, even Brian Hoyer was running yesterday.
Yeah.
How about that? How about Brian Hoyer, who had the ACL injury, is now a year removed from the ACL injury, was a little bit more aggressive running yesterday. Faith, what else do you have? Because I want to get to Kenny here. What else you got?
There was just, other than the multiple memes that we got yesterday on Johnny, needing a Snickers, maybe staying towards women's aerobics and things like that, there are a lot of people saying that it's definitely not just the quarterback. The focus on the quarterback is a little much. It's the entire team. It's not. We did have a decent year, but we still could do a lot better. The team is still growing. It's nice to see them growing, but there's still more for them to do.
Faith,
All right,
is it a meme or a meme?
Meme.
It's a meme?
It's not a meme or a meme.
I've been
It's a
needing
meme.
you all week long.
Silent.
Okay, well, tell me, what does it stand for? That's what I want to know.
Touchdown basket!
Why did I get a flag on that?
Okay, well, maybe the flag is for
That's the
me
question. She doesn't
because
know. No, it's
he
for
can't throw it that far. But I will find out and get back to you. I'm sure
Sweet.
that there's a horrible definition in Urban Dictionary on what meme is. It's probably something.
Oh, yeah, when you read that.
Oh, you can do it on this
And
show.
do it
It
in a
doesn't
timely
matter.
fashion because another flag will be coming if it's a delay of game.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Thanks,
All
Faith.
right, talk to you later. You know what? Here's where I'm going to disagree. On it's the quarterback. We're spending too much time on the quarterback. You ask yourself this fundamental question.
All right.
Ready?
Okay.
Did the team look better when Brian Hoyer got in the game yesterday? Yes or no?
That's easy.
Yes or no?
Can I be Eric? Yes, they looked much better.
All right, so you're going to tell me that the scrutiny of the quarterback at this point is not worthy?
No, it's
They
still
are
good.
who we thought they were.
Thank you.
All right, let's get some more in-depth information. It's always, look at the
Darkness.
hat. Look at the hat on
LeBron's got a hat.
No, not you.
LeBron's got a hat. Look at it.
That's awesome. Where'd you get that at?
Covering up that hairline.
It's what it's all about. I'll say it for both of us, although I don't know if I want to speak for him because it might be in a negative fashion, so I'll just leave it at that.
I love the road, man.
That was the quote of the week.
Quote of the week. Why you asking all them negative questions?
What are you supposed to ask after a 29-point loss? What's their positive? I mean, the coach used those terms, not me, so I'm just wanting to see if the superstar leader of the team felt the same way the coach did. How did I know he was going to go absolutely crazy?
I thought what you did pulled out the best of both of you guys. I thought it was. I really did. I think because you shouldn't be embarrassed when you lose by 29. I don't care how many rings you have.
He'll worry
Here's
about
the
it when the
thing,
championship
guys.
rolls around.
LeBron, I understand. He's been to the mountaintop, and he's been a champion twice. He's lost by 36 points in an NBA Finals game. So to him, probably not, but we got an idea of the way David Blatt was feeling and the way LeBron was feeling, and they weren't the same.
Right.
But since that loss, they've won 2 in a row and a big win yesterday over Memphis. So maybe David Blatt used us as members of the media, bringing that question up, and it's fired up the team. And if that's the case, I'm glad to help.
All right, let's get to your keys to the game from yesterday from the Browns and the Browns' loss.
Well, the keys are stop the run and run the football because we all know the Browns' offense is predicated on the running game. They've got to be able to run the ball to throw the ball, and they really weren't able to establish the run yesterday, and it hurts Johnny Manziel, it hurts Brian Hoyer, it hurts whoever is at quarterback trying to run this offense, and yes, they scored a touchdown yesterday. We applaud that. Yay, they got a touchdown. They got in the end zone. But still, what's that, 1 touchdown in 10 quarters for this offense? So if you can't run it, they can't score. And they weren't able to do that yesterday, and that was costly. And then they couldn't stop the run. Second week in a row, they've given up over 200 yards rushing, and that's a killer for any defense. When you can't stop the run, it's just a killer. And Johnny had to make plays yesterday, and he didn't make plays. And I wasn't thrilled when they made this draft pick back in May. Using a first-round pick on Johnny Manziel. I don't agree with Merle Hodge that, he's a 6th-round draft pick coming off 2 years in college and 1 as a Heisman Trophy winner, but he's not first-round talent. And we're seeing that his size is an issue, and that's not me saying that. That was the head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals bringing that up. Yes, he apologized for using the term midget, but he got his point across, and they weren't fearful of Johnny Manziel in any way, shape, or form in Cincinnati. His size is an issue as far as seeing over the line of scrimmage and down the field. Also, his size, his body shape is an issue. Yesterday, he gets knocked out. I don't know what the over-under was on how many quarters he would play before he got hurt, knocked out of the game. We saw that happen in quarter number 2 of his second start yesterday. So it just was not a good day again for the Browns. And 11 straight losses over 3 seasons now in the month of December. That's winning time. That's playoff time. That's getting you into the postseason time. And the Browns aren't even close to that. I think what we saw early might have been fool's gold. And the Browns are who we thought they were, a 6-7 win football team.
Question for you guys real quick. What do you guys do with Johnny Manziel? I mean, you have to tailor your team around him.
What do you do with Johnny Manziel? You let him sit next week.
You can't build a team.
Here's the thing, though.
His hamstring better.
You can't build a team around what he's done so far.
So you're not committed to him long term. You're not going to draft guys that fit.
Oh, you're committed to him for at least next season.
So is the draft going to be committed?
That's what I was going to ask you, Kenny.
I mean, unless you're going to trade him, what are you going to get for him,
What do
Kenny?
you do?
He becomes a backup for me, and I look for another quarterback, whether it's bringing back Brian Hoyer, and I doubt that's going to happen. And by the way, you're right. The team did look better with Hoyer in at quarterback yesterday. Not a lot better, let's be honest. He made one pass on broken coverage, and at least he got it there, and they caught it, and they ran for a touchdown. But it didn't look that much better. But for me, I don't think they have the quarterback of the future on this team right now. So they either have to explore trades, free agency, or start looking into this draft with a Hundley, with a Mariota, whoever might be available for them with those 2 picks. Get creative, use those 2 picks and maybe something else to move up to see if they can find a quarterback, because I don't think Johnny Manziel is the quarterback of the future from what I saw in the preseason, the way he practiced all season, the 2 starts, and what we saw in limited playing time in that Buffalo game.
Here's a question I got for everybody. Kenny, we'll give it to you since we have you on, and I want to ask Tim this too. Do you guys point the finger at all at the Browns coaching staff for him not being prepared at this point in the season? We all knew what they were drafting in May. We all knew that, Tim said it. We've all watched the fundamentals of him in college, and we knew he had these issues. To me, it's alarming that it's week 17, and he looked the way he looked. When you drafted him, I always go back to when the Browns drafted Josh Gordon, and I always remember going to the GM, and he didn't like it. He didn't go at me like LeBron went at you, and I said to him, I go, hey, this kid's had a lot of problems. If you guys set up a system to keep him out of trouble and to talk to, I thought about Sam Rutigliano, where they, when guys with drugs, they came with the inner circle and a way to help
trust.
Right.
Yep.
And I kind of said that to him, and they looked at me like I had 8 heads, and I'm going, well, you can't bring a guy in there like that and not set up something for him. You can't bring in Johnny Manziel and not, almost daily, he should be going through footwork, fundamentals, every day the way he looks. I'm embarrassed that he looks the way he looks in week 17.
I agree with you guys. I tweeted out yesterday, did I just see Johnny Manziel fall down throwing the football yesterday? And that's what happened. He tried to put so much on that throw to Josh Gordon that he over his stride. He was too long, and he overstepped it, and the throw was low. His foot planted and slipped, and that supposedly is where he hurt the hamstring, and then he continued to play, and he fell down. I mean, when's the last time you remember a guy just stepping and throwing and falling down because he was off balance in making the throw, even though his foot slipped? The stride was too. He has so many fundamental issues, guys. With under center, playing under center is an issue. His 3, 5, 7-step drops, setting up, throwing off his back foot, then overstriding on that pass. And you're right, Trey. If you knew that once you drafted him, why weren't you holding him after practice and working specific? Now, maybe they were. I don't know. I wasn't out there. Heck, I wasn't even allowed in practice earlier this year with all the restrictions because they drafted Johnny Manziel. Oh my goodness, So maybe they were working with him and it hasn't worked out. Has he put in the extra time after what they worked with him? Probably not, from what we're hearing. So for me, he's not the quarterback of the future for this team at all.
All right, let me bring this up. Hang on one second. Listen, let's go back to this question. And I think it goes back to Terrence West. I think it goes back to Justin Gilbert. And I think it goes back to Johnny Manziel. And the question that we asked about Johnny Manziel is, is he ready? Was he ready?
Yeah.
All these questions, okay? Here's what bothers me. He said yesterday after the game, I've been working hard for 2 weeks, okay? We saw that Mike Pettin was extremely hesitant about putting him in the game. Now, you said, should he have been ready on the coaching staff? I can talk to a kid, and I coach hockey. I can talk to him till I'm blue in the face. But if he doesn't want to listen, he's not going to do it. Here's the number one question I have going into the offseason when it comes to Johnny Manziel. Is he coachable? Is he coachable? That's my question.
As of right now, today on December 22nd, no, not really. I don't think so.
I mean, did it take him 16 weeks to realize that he needs to be the first one in the door and the last one out?
What bothers me, what if he had to come in a game in week 8 or week 9? You know, we always talk about the backup being a play away. Did he not understand that he was so close to playing? That, to me, if I'm a teammate, I can't trust Johnny. Forget coaches. As a teammate, I'd go, hey, man, how the hell am I supposed to respect you or expect you to be ready when you're basically telling the whole world for the last 2 weeks, I'm really prepared? You could have played in week 8 or 9, Johnny, and he was not ready. That's scary.
Guys, what about this side of it? We've heard him say this has never happened to him before, right? He's never been shut out. He's never, struggled like this. So this is the first time maybe he's really facing adversity. I go back to when John Lucas, when they drafted Chris Mims. He's too pretty. I got to make him tough, and I can't. Remember that when Coach Luke used to say that when they drafted Mims? Because he grew up, in a family where he was well off, and everything just went so well for him. Well, same with Johnny, right? His family's pretty well off, and everything's just been so smooth, and I'm sure they got him the best coaching and everything like that, and he just stepped in, and he was a star on his team, and nothing ever went wrong, and he wins the Heisman as a redshirt freshman, and the celebrity status comes with it, and now all of a sudden he's finding out that it isn't that easy, and he doesn't know how to handle it, how to react, and how to practice. And so that makes you worry about a kid because can you ever toughen somebody up like that who's been handed it on a silver spoon his entire life?
Yeah. All right, Kenny, let me ask you this question before we let you go. Then we're going to be joined by Bill Powell he's the president of the Bull City Browns Backers Club. We're going to talk to him in just a second. If you think Brian Hoyer's not going to be here next year, okay, let's go on that assumption. Right. And Johnny Manziel's hurt. And Mike Pettin has been rewarding guys that play hard in practice. We've heard that Connor Shaw has been playing hard in practice. Connor Shaw may be here next year. It's the Ravens, so I'm real hesitant on saying this. Do you give Connor Shaw a shot next week?
He's the backup. Johnny Manziel, I don't think will play next week. I think Connor Shaw is your backup, and Brian Hoyer gets the start again, and you start Brian, and you go like David Blatt is. You go by feel of the game. If Brian Hoyer is playing well, you know what? You go with Brian Hoyer. You try and win the last game, finish 500, which would be 2 wins more than I thought they would get this year, and you try and build some momentum going into the offseason. But if Brian struggles, at this point, yes, Andy, because I remember you earlier in the year saying, they should have played Johnny Manziel when they were, winning games big and all that. And Andre and I disagreed because your starting quarterback, you let him get in the genuflect offense and win the game and don't worry about it. But in game number 16, when it really doesn't matter at this point anymore, if Hoyer struggles, then you throw Shaw in there for a half, tell him, hey, look, be ready. We may be going to you to see what you can do. Give him an opportunity, but I don't think he's the answer either.
All right, thanks, Kenny. We'll talk to you in a half hour. And one of the biggest reasons I said that in the beginning of the season, so you don't have that emoji moment.
Right.
I mean, that's why you put a rookie out there. We all know what I'm talking about, emoji moment.
Absolutely.
And so
I think Kenny and I understood where you were coming from. I just think it's scary that if they would have done that, where Johnny is at. I think Mike Pettin spoke to us in so many ways without playing Johnny early on.
Totally agree.
You know what I mean? I think Mike Pettin, without blatantly embarrassing Johnny Manziel and not wanting to embarrass him.
You know what they could have said? You know what probably would have been better and no one wanted to hear it? Maybe he didn't want to take the heat as a coach. He wasn't ready.
Yeah.
He wasn't ready.
You're right.
And is that the coach's responsibility at the NFL level? I say no.
Really?
If you don't know the playbook, then
that's
I think
it's
on
that's on
you
player.
know that you got to know it. I don't know.
Well, let me to your question. Can I get to his question real quick?
Go ahead.
The Connor Shaw thing.
Yeah.
I think it's a legitimate question. I do. But I think for the 50-some guys in that locker room, for Joe Thomas and guys like that, Mike Pettin can't lose his locker room on one game.
No, I agree.
You got to roll out Brian Hoyer and say, hey, guys, winning 8 games for the Browns. We talk about playing like a Brown and how we're building this new you can't go to Connor Shaw right now and say.
No, I agree with that. But
it's a good question.
I still think that Mike Pettin in the back of his mind would say, you know what? If we're not going to go with Brian next year, let's give Connor a shot because he's been working hard in practice.
I'll say this.
In high school, that works. It doesn't work.
Here's another point, too, that you guys haven't brought up. The fact that Rob Jasinski was fired last year for losing the last couple of games. You think in the back of Mike Pettin's mind, he's like, I want to win this game.
Eric, that is what this organization has done to itself. It's not. Now, in my opinion, you guys know this, it doesn't mean it's right. In my opinion, I think we should not talk about the coach losing his job at all. Marla Reidenheimer from the Akron Beacon Journal does a great job. Love Marla. She wrote a great article this morning kind of going and saying, because of how the owner handled the situation last year, it is a question that you can ask because they've set it up that way. I think it's 2 years in a row, right? I think it's ridiculous personally, but I don't think it's going to happen. But the media is going to ask the question to Jimmy Haslam because he's set it up that way. I'll say this to you about Connor Shaw. I bet money. I'd put a good amount of money. I don't have any money in my pocket because I ran out of the house quickly as possible.
You're wearing a sweatsuit.
Yeah, right. But I'd put down a decent amount of money that he knows the playbook better than Johnny Manziel.
Oh, I believe it. I don't have any question of that.
You don't have any question of it?
No. I don't have your kind of money either.
No.
All right, let's do this. Let's go to Bill Powell. He is the president of the Bull City Browns backers, and he is nice enough to join us this morning. Bill, how are you doing today?
Good. I barely have a voice, but I'm good.
Well, that's okay. That means you were working hard during the game. So tell me a little bit about the Bull City Browns backers. Where do you guys meet? And tell me a little bit about your club.
Sure. The club started week 3 of last season. It was a late bloomer. But we meet at the Tavern in Durham, North Carolina. We're now up to about 100 or so fans that come out for each game, which is awesome. I founded it because I was walking around town in my Browns jersey, and people kept coming up to me saying, "Go Browns," or woofing at me, and like, hey, maybe there's a place for us here.
Bill, are you originally from Cleveland?
I'm originally from central Pennsylvania. My dad was a Cleveland Browns fan, so I was born into it.
Good for you.
Now let me ask this
Living
question.
in hostile territory.
Yeah. You've been listening to us. Just what's your take on the whole Manziel thing? Were you for him being drafted? And just what are your thoughts now that this season?
Well, hang on 1 second before you. Are we putting him on the clock here?
I'm sorry.
Is he going on the clock?
Let me get it set up.
He ain't ready.
Oh, figures. All right, hang on a second. So here's what we do, Bill, and we
quick.
appreciate your time. You'll have 60 seconds on the clock. If you want to include Manziel, include it. If you don't answer it, we'll ask you that afterwards. So very high-tech clock we have here. I don't know if you've ever seen such a clock like this. Clearly, if you need not only a clock, but engagement rings, and it will also take all of your major credit cards and PayPal, because we really went the extra mile to build this clock for you. So we're going to give you 60 seconds, and in the 60 seconds, you can say anything you want. Again, the reminder on this show is there's no rules. So if you've got a couple words there that we normally would not hear on the air, we were more than happy to hear them here, and there will be no trouble, no fine, no issues, because we're not FCC regulated. So we're going to put 60 seconds on the clock, and when we are set, go.
All right. So my rant is not against anything of the Browns. I think they're doing a great job. I think Mike Pettin is the coach of the future for us. And I believe that because I see the moves that are happening. I see our late round draft picks coming of age. Pierre Desir is going to be a great cornerback in this league. Maybe not great, but he's going to be good. I see Terrence West. I see Isaiah Crowell coming in and doing awesome. And to hear all of this chatter and talk about new quarterback this, new quarterback that, Kansas City wins with Alex Smith. Alex Smith. I mean, anybody can throw the ball behind this line when they're healthy. What we're having a problem with is a defensive line that has been decimated by injury. And when you have a defensive line that's decimated by injury and quick pressure up the middle, no quarterback will be successful. The other part of my rant is Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah.
Kyle Shanahan's supposedly a genius. He comes across as a very competent man who can design plays for anyone. Look what he did with RG3. Well, what he did with RG3 isn't going to work with what he did for Johnny Manziel. He gets too cute. Too many plays out of the pistol read option. All of that stuff has to be practiced. The offensive line cannot keep up with that sort of thing on a regular basis when you're changing in quarterbacks in, out. You can't go from a Brian Hoyer to a Johnny Manziel and hope to have success. So I do not believe that we should change quarterbacks. I do not believe that we should be looking at Brett Hundley in the draft. I think we need to build out depth on the defensive, offensive line, and continue to build superstars in those late round draft picks.
Bill, let me ask you this. So are you a keep Hoyer guy then?
Yeah, and I don't think that's unreasonable. I mean, he wants to be here. Whether he wants to be a backup or not, he'd probably be a backup in Tampa Bay.
Hey, would you? He could be a starter in Houston.
He could start in Houston. He could start in Tampa, maybe too.
Yeah,
maybe, but they're going to have a draft pick to take a quarterback.
Yeah, that's the scary. I like a lot of things you said. I wish it was this easy that you could just walk in and say to Brian, "Hey, here's a 3-year deal with $30 million on it. I don't know how long we're going to keep you as a starter, but you're going to start game 1 of 2015." And when Johnny,
he's a fool not to take that.
You're looking at me like, why are you looking at me like that?
Here's what we're all forgetting. Okay, the only way Brian Hoyer stays, in my opinion, in 2 ways. 1, you got to pay the man. 2, you better keep Mike Pettin, and Mike Pettin and Brian Hoyer have to be in sync.
Yes.
Forget about everybody else in this thing. It's Pettin and Hoyer, and they go into this thing together. That's the only ways. If I'm Brian Hoyer, I'm out of here. Forget you. You got to be kidding me. I've worked so hard to come back. Think about what he did. I don't care about his bad games. The guy had a ripped ACL, came back and acted like he never had any problems before. If I'm Brian Hoyer, I love Cleveland. I'm from here. This will always be my hometown. But I got to tell you, this last year has made me 10 years older because the support level has been fractured from the beginning because you went out to take a flyer on the number 22 pick, a guy that 20 other teams didn't think was good enough to be a first-round pick. The best thing they could have done was bring Hoyer back and bring Manziel, maybe draft him in the 2nd or 3rd round, take all the pressure off. We all know the second-string quarterback's the most popular guy in town.
Woof,
all right?
Woof, Chef. Look at you. You're right.
It's just true.
Well,
it's just true.
And I'll let Bill get back at it. Don't you guys think Mike Pettin, if he had his way, that Brian Hoyer fits him a lot more than figuring out Johnny Manziel?
Are you buying into the system? If you are, it's Brian Hoyer.
It's Brian Hoyer. That's who to me, that's what he'd want. What else you got for us, Bill?
All right, final thing. I wanted to send a shout out to the Browns backers in the Muni Lot South, just outside of the Panthers Stadium. The traffic, there's a main thoroughfare that runs in front of the stadium, and there was a officer of the law who was not directing traffic. He was just standing there blocking hundreds upon hundreds of Browns fans from getting out of the stadium. It took about 2.5 hours to get out of the stadium. Several of us walked up to him and asked him, why are you not actually directing traffic? And he handed us his walkie-talkie and said, "Talk to my boss." So we did. And he eventually left, and Browns backers were directing traffic, stepping in front of a major thoroughfare in Charlotte, stopping traffic, letting people out, Panthers fans and Browns fans alike. So thank you guys, the ones that stopped, the ones that made it happen. Thank you.
Hey, thank you for calling in this morning. Hopefully we'll get you back next week. And don't forget, next year, we'll take you in next year, too. Thank you, Bill.
Awesome. See you guys.
Thank you. Make sure you go to Bull City if you're watching us down in Charlotte this morning.
You just went off on. You were good. Because you hit on something fans don't want to hear it. I don't think people take in Brian Hoyer's part of all of this. He did come back. And I thought mobility-wise, he looked the best he's looked all season yesterday.
Sure,
his knees, his legs look rested. He finally looked like a guy that wasn't coming off an ACL.
He was off the rookie wall.
Yeah.
He was off the rookie wall.
Did he have the brace on yesterday? I don't know if he did or he looked.
Maybe he had Johnny's dark visor on from the beginning of this game. Let's go back. Real quick, we're going to go to Tim, but I do want to George, real quick. We know you're late here. Go ahead, George, quick.
Hey, good
Tim
morning.
Couch for 2 seconds for you. You better be good.
Let's see. Why do we have the Bernie Kosar syndrome still talking about quarterbacks in this town?
Because we don't have a quarterback, George. That's why.
Yeah, I know, but your points were taken and made very well about Brian Hoyer.
Thank you, George. All right, what else? Tell us what you think of the game yesterday, man.
If it wasn't for Travis Benjamin and that awesome play.
You mean the rookie?
He did bust his tail.
That awesome play.
Yeah, these guys don't prepare. It's crazy.
Keep going. George, keep going. What'd you think of the game?
Just that, and of course the one play that Hoyer threw to Cameron. That was basically the highlight. The defense could have played better, but Billy Wynn, was that an interception and a touchdown run or what?
Yeah, that play needs to be reviewed.
All
I
right,
bet you the NFL will review it and say, oops, we made a mistake.
I thought they came out yesterday and said it was
said
right. They made the right call. Whatever.
I don't agree.
Oh,
You got to be kidding
that's
me.
a crock.
If it wasn't the Browns, it would have been the wrong call. You know that?
That's a
All right, you have
crock.
15 seconds. Tell me exactly what you think. Go, George, go.
Please, no quarterback in the first round next year. Please. We need offense and defense on the line. It's about blocking and tackling. And if Johnny Manziel was coachable, yeah, okay, I could see it. But after 2 weeks, that looks like a little leaguer who doesn't know what he's doing at the plate. It's a joke.
Thank you, George.
It's a fucking joke.
Thank you, George.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what we needed.
Thank you. Hey,
Yeah,
Merry
have a
Christmas
great
to you.
day,
Tim, do a
guys.
Hail Mary
Thanks.
for me.
George, Merry Christmas. Oh, there you go.
Oh, Merry
All right,
Christmas.
let's go to Tim Couch. Hi, Tim. All right. I don't know if you've been watching for the last couple minutes here, but I got into some things that, with Brian Hoyer and coming back next year. If you were Brian Hoyer, would you want to come back next year?
It would be tough. I think that Brian probably feels a little mistreated because of, everything you guys said was right on. His ability to come back from the injury all the time and work that he put in, and as well as he played early in the season. I think Brian deserved the right to finish this season out. I really do, because, obviously Manziel's not ready, and I think Brian earned that spot. He earned the respect of his teammates. I think all those guys believe in Brian. I think they still believe in Brian, even though he's been, replaced by Johnny. I think when he came on the field yesterday, you could see the belief the guys still have in Brian when he came in the huddle, and they picked up right where he left off, and he made some plays in that game with limited reps and practice throughout the week. So it's a tough situation. I think the biggest thing is can Brian and Coach Pettin repair that relationship, because there's certainly a level of mistrust, I think, on Brian's part, because he thought that it was his job and he was playing okay. Obviously he had a bad stretch there, but I think he still felt like he was the guy. So if they can repair that relationship, sure, I think it could work out, but it would certainly have to require a few sit down talks with Coach Pettin and the guys in the front office.
Yeah, you bring up the front office. I think that'd be the big talks. I think any head coach would be more secure. We keep talking about Kansas City. Andy Reid, I think one of the better quarterback coaches we could say in the NFL, right? And he's gone through the Donovan McNabbs, the Michael Vicks. He's gone through
Joe Banners.
the Joe Banners. He's went through some pretty high-profile guys. And we all know the deficiencies of Alex Smith, every one of us. I was reading a blog in Kansas City last night, and half the fans are going, well, Alex Smith doesn't turn the ball over because he doesn't throw it 5 yards. And I know Kansas City's probably not going to make it in the playoffs or whatever else. But if Andy Reid can settle on a guy like Alex Smith, give him a big ton of money, and say, that's the guy I want to play with, I just think Browns fans, Tim, it's hard for them to accept that maybe your best thing is the boring guy. If it's okay with Andy Reid, why not us?
I talked earlier in the week, I did some interviews last week about, the Browns quarterback situation over the last 15 years. And to me, it's about patience and committing to a guy and sticking with him, just like you said, Andre. And, I look within our own division. Look at the teams, Pittsburgh, they stuck with their head coach. They stuck with their quarterback through thick and thin. Baltimore, same thing. Cincinnati, same thing. How long have those coaches been there? How long have they been consistent in their schemes and all that? And they committed to Andy Dalton. Is Andy Dalton a $115 million quarterback? Is he that much better than Brian Hoyer? I don't think so. I really don't. I mean, he's played really, really up and down football throughout his career, but they've committed to him, and they've consistently gotten to the playoffs by doing that.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. They have. The other thing offensively, now, and I know people don't agree with me, I take the best tackle in the draft this offseason. And it's not a hit against Joe Thomas. I think the Mitchell Schwartz experiment. Tim, you watch the game like all of us do. As a quarterback, the right tackle now is as important as the left tackle, isn't he?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a passing league. You got to be able to protect both sides. And, it used to be, you got to have that left tackle. You got to have that blind side protected. But now, their teams have two good defensive ends now. It used to just be that guy on the right side of the defense you had to worry about. Now teams have two good defensive ends that are going to force you to step up into the pocket and do those kind of things. So you have to have, those solid guys on both sides of your offensive line. And, man, if I tell you, if you don't have it, it makes, things really tough in the passing game as far as trying to get the ball down the field. And I think that's what the Browns have struggled with over the last couple of weeks is generating big plays, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they really can't block them up and protect it long enough to get things going down the field. You know, when you take shots down the field, a lot of times you do it off play action, and to do that, you got to be able to run the ball. And we all know since Alex Mack has been out of the lineup, it's been really inconsistent as far as establishing any kind of running game to set up those play action passes to get down the field.
All right, Tim, we're going to talk to you in a little bit. We'll do grade the team here in about 5 minutes like we always do. So we'll talk to you. I still want to talk to you about Mike Pettin and Ray Farmer, too, and just your thoughts of, grading those guys as rookies as well. Thanks, Tim. We'll talk to you in a little bit.
Take care, Tim. He makes a great point, though. Even when Tim played 99, 2000, the one defensive end was strictly a pass rusher, and the other guy was a run blocker. You know, so at right tackle, it was a run blocker in front of him, or a run stopper, excuse me. Now every team has pass rushers on the outside. It's like a speed race now on the outside. It's amazing how the game has changed.
Javon Curse, that's the guy I always think of.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, really, that's where things...
It changed because they just put a big athlete out there and they said, we're coming after your quarterback every play.
But didn't you think when they drafted Cameron Wimbley, he was going to be the same guy?
You
were hoping for that, weren't you?
I was. I
thought the same thing.
And then you got to have two of them.
All right, let's get a little perspective from the Pittsburgh point of view. We go to Steelers Gab, and of course, Matt Lodi is our man from Steelers Gab.
Lodi.
All right, you're going to the playoffs. Congratulations.
Get a T-shirt.
Yeah, I gotta go spend $50 now on a T-shirt, because the team made it to the playoffs, But,
I have some AFC Central Browns shirts if you want them.
They were solid.
The 80s.
Okay.
Do you? Yeah, I
Grab
still
a
have
couple of those.
They don't fit, but I'd be happy to give them to you. Not a lot of things fit anymore. That's what happens when you have kids.
All right, they beat Kansas City, and they did it relatively quietly, which is un-Steeler-like this season.
Well, I mean, they took care of business. Certainly yesterday they only scored 20 points, but, the red zone, Kansas City's red zone defense was one of the best in the NFL, and the Steelers were still able to score 2 touchdowns and kick 2 field goals. I think the story of yesterday, guys, though, was the Steelers' defense. I thought they played their best game of the season. Jamar Charles only had, 30 yards on the ground, and he had 50 yards receiving, but a lot of that were the check down passes that you talked about a moment ago that Alex Smith likes to throw. I thought that this was a pretty complete game, and from the Steelers' point of view, this team is playing pretty good football right now, and that's certainly what you want. I told you guys last week I felt like if they won that game against Atlanta, they were going to win the division, and certainly it lines up now with the game against Cincinnati. They could win the division, and of course, as I also said last week, doesn't surprise me at all that game has been flexed to Sunday night, so it'll come down to Sunday night for the division title and a chance to host a playoff game, which will be in the first round against a team like San Diego, maybe Baltimore, maybe Houston, depending on who gets that 6th seed or 5th seed in the wild card.
I loved watching Roethlisberger after the game yesterday. Every post-game interview is exactly the same thing. It doesn't matter who the reporter is. We're just taking it one game at a time. We'll see. We'll get to the playoffs. We're okay. Well, that's all right, but that's not what we're worried about. We're worried about next week. How you feeling? I feel good.
Yeah.
Every time.
Didn't he go
every
over
Roethlisberger?
You're right. They're all the same.
He had that one famous interview. I think it was Andrea Kramer was asking him about an injury and kept saying to him, Ben, did you feel all right when he came back in? He said, hey, I just got to give my offensive line a lot of credit. I remember the wide receivers in this game. They were great. All right, so let me ask you this another question, Ben. Ben, are you hurt? Do you feel good? He goes, like I said before, it's about offensive line. I don't know. I watch him, and
as a reporter, it drives you crazy, though.
But it's funny. At that point, it's funny when he gives you that answer. So I'm just curious, your view of the Browns and where they are, and is this same old Browns when you're looking at it from the Steeler point of view?
Well, we go back, and I was doing a little research last night. Certainly that game, October 12th, we talked about it a lot. That was kind of the Browns' Super Bowl. They beat the Steelers by 21 points, and I said it even the next day here on the show. To me, that was just another game for the Steelers. They didn't play very well. At that point, the Steelers fell to 3-3. But to the Steelers, that was just another game. To the Browns, they put a lot more emphasis on that game. And even at 6-3, or after the Cincinnati game, I thought, there's still a lot of work to be done. And listen, the Browns are a young football team. They still obviously have to get this quarterback situation decided. To me, that's the first and foremost. And, guys, I think you'll agree, no matter where you look at it, until they get the quarterback situation decided upon, I don't know where this organization's going to go. And, they've lost 5 of 6. They easily could have lost 6 in a row if they don't rally in Atlanta. Now all the situation or the question marks are going to come up about Johnny's durability, which is a big thing that, he had to answer going into this season. To me, this is a dangerous situation for the Browns because they could be right back to square one if they don't get the situation with the quarterback decided upon pretty quickly. And you know what? If they go into next year, hand the ball to Johnny, and come week 2 or 3, he's out already with a hamstring injury or another type of injury. Where do you go from there? So there's a lot of question marks about the Browns. And, I hate to say same old Browns because I think they've made some strides. But on the other hand, when you are 6-3 and now you're looking at a 7-9 season, I think it's a major disappointment.
All right, Matt, thank you very much. Good luck. We'll talk to you next week and enjoy your playoff run here.
You guys will be the champions. You'll win that Sunday. Dalton plays terrible at night.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that you're right, Andre. I'll probably be looking to buy a T-shirt next week. Thanks, guys.
Good luck,
Merry
buddy.
Christmas to you guys, too.
Merry Christmas. Yeah, speaking of Merry Christmas, let's go to Craig Lindell from Waiting for Next Year. Hi, Craig. Oh, look at that.
Look at that
The
office coming
new
together.
digs. Wow. Still impressed.
Good morning, guys. How's it going?
Good morning. Now, are you in the basement? I'm looking at the vent there. So is this an office in the basement?
It's not only a basement. It's a basement that I own. It's not my mom's.
Oh, good for you. So what are you going to – you own this, so that means you're not going to be on Twitter all day, going off on people on the radio all day.
So you got a blog that you write, right? You put people down for that basement, right?
Oh, absolutely. If I don't have blog muscles from here, where do I have blog muscles?
That's a great point.
It's a great point. Everybody wants to talk about the quarterback. I want to talk about other positions, but just the overall.
No, I want to hear about the quarterback.
Yeah, but no. All right, I can give.
Here's why I want to talk about the quarterback. I'll say the same thing because the team looked different with Hoyer than they did with Manziel.
And I think we all agree with that. And do you have a problem with the play that he got hurt on? Manziel, that is.
Do I have a problem with it? I don't know. It looked very strange to me, but I don't want to ever be in the business of questioning a guy's injuries. I guess my real point here with the quarterback is that, and this is a little phrase that I've been thinking about. We're always looking for the answer, but I think we're asking the wrong question. We've spent all this time chasing a quarterback and looking for this certain quarterback that, the Browns probably would have been better off, and I know this sounds crazy now, but they would have been better off if they'd never bothered looking for Whedon and just committed to Colt McCoy for a few more years. They would have been better off if they, I'm kind of like, give me the C+B- quarterback and have consistency of scheme for a little bit. I think we've spent too much time trying to force the quarterback issue, and chasing is a bad look. And you end up with guys like Whedon and just all kinds of bad experiments. And so leave Johnny on the bench, bring Hoyer back, and try and win some games, because you've seen a vast difference between how this team plays when they think the coach is going to win or going to try and win versus when they turn the page and see what they've got.
Craig, I think you're right about asking the wrong question. I think the question is the coach before the quarterback. And, look, I think we can all settle on Mike Pettin. I think everybody feels somewhat comfortable about him. I mean, look, he's got a staff. He's got an offensive coordinator that I don't even think he met before the beginning of the season.
I'm not a fan of it, but he's stuck with him.
Okay, so I think there's a sense of loyalty, there's a sense of trust, and there's a sense of wanting to build something. From a defensive point of view, yes, they've been bad against the run, but they've also had injury problems. And as much as we want to, keep churning through the quarterbacks, keep churning through that, I think you got to stand put on a coach.
Absolutely.
And if you believe there's any level of competency, you have to factor in a rookie year for him. Just stick with it.
I'm with you.
I mean, and I think that brings a sense of calm to everything. Guys kind of can know their place and get the job done. Do your job. That's all we've ever asked for. And I don't think anyone's ever had a chance to do their job.
Right.
And I think if you got Jimmy Haslam in a quiet moment, where he was totally off the record and he never had to stand by it, I think he would say that he regrets unloading Chud after 1 year. The whole idea that of what they went through last year was a whole learning experience, I think, for Jimmy Haslam. And I think he probably learned a lot in terms of committing to that coach and simplifying the organizational structure and all that good stuff. But I think Mike Pettin has shown enough. I don't want to hear anything about his job being in jeopardy. Not even for Harbaugh, as our good friend Joe Lull was talking about this week. I don't care. I just don't care. The opportunity cost of switching is sometimes just totally not worth it. We've seen it in quarterbacks and we've seen it in coaches, and I don't want to see it again.
Well, there's the story out there that Harbaugh was on the phone with the Browns, and that and Mike Pettin was in the room on the other side.
But
and they were trying to make that decision. And Harbaugh, when it all was said and done, they couldn't settle on a draft pick.
Right. Well, we can go back to '99, and we can talk about how Brian Billick was on a plane. And that's how sometimes information isn't good for reporters because that's how deals are made, right?
Right.
I mean, we almost lost Jarrett Wright for Pedro Martinez and Bartolo. You know, we can go through. That's what happened. And I guess I'm not putting down Joe Lawler or anybody else, and I can talk to Joe. My point is, a lot of things come close to happening that don't happen in sports, right? If we really knew the truth about a lot of stuff, we'd be blown away how close this guy was almost a coach or this guy was almost your quarterback. Let me ask you this, Craig. You guys do great lists and things like that, and I know one of your Sportsmen of the Year last week was Joe Thomas. Biggest disappointment for the Browns: Terrence West, Gilbert, Johnny Manziel. Who on those three guys on that list? Who jumps out to you that scares you?
As the biggest disappointment?
Yeah, for a rookie.
I would say in this case, Justin Gilbert. I was fully content leaving Johnny Manziel on the bench for at least a year. I keep reminding myself he's supposed to be a junior in college. And I haven't given up on Justin Gilbert. I don't want to trash the guy, but it's another Barkevius Mingo-ish pick now, where a guy who steps in on the defense, and I expected to contribute a whole lot early, and has struggled a lot more than I expected, especially in the face of seeing, last year was Armani Bryant and this year it was K'Wan Williams. It's a little bit troublesome that the Browns are picking guys that high and they're not stepping right in and being starters or outplaying undrafted guys who were chasing them in training camp.
Right.
All right, Craig, quickly, what's going on waiting for next year?
Well, the big news is a media announcement. We're going to be on with Les Levine tomorrow on his TV show on Tuesday, which will be playing all throughout the holidays. So it'll be myself and TD and Scott, all from Waiting for Next Year. So tune in we'll be on cable.
Nice.
Outstanding. Let us know if you need us to Skype in for you.
Yeah.
We owe you.
Yeah, we can Skype for you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Have a Merry Christmas.
I'm doing a podcast with you in 2015. I didn't even think about it. I'm just saying it off the top of my head. I'm coming.
Yes, sir, for sure.
With no rules on the podcast.
Yeah.
You swear on that, too. Thanks, Craig. We'll talk to you soon. We appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thanks.
All right, we'll
Take
talk
care,
to you soon.
Craig.
All right, we're going to set things up for our Grade the Team segment with Kenny Rhoda and Tim Couch. That's coming up in about 2 seconds.
The road man and the Fs.
Let's go to the phone lines, 216-431-3820. We'll talk to Ed real quick here. Hi, Ed. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. What's the good word, my friend?
The good word? we need the word.
Say that again. I'm sorry. We just broke up a little.
I said we need a good word.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do. We need a good word. That's a good point. All right, what are your thoughts on the game from yesterday?
Well, my thought on the game is that the Browns, they just keep losing. To me, they need to change the name.
They need to change the name, okay?
And they got rid of that Browns name. They won a Super Bowl. That's why I didn't want to take the name and all this and make like the city won something when they moved out.
All right, hey, your phone line's breaking up a little bit. Ed, just tell me what you want this team to be called.
The Cleveland Dogs.
Just the Dogs.
Mean-looking dog on the helmet.
All right, the Dogs.
I could do something, but everything else, though, why not try it, What's the harm in it?
We hear you. Happy
Thank you, Ed.
to you,
Merry
Ed.
Christmas, man. Thank you very much. Look, let me just...
see, that's where we're
let
at.
me bring in an analogy.
That's where
on
we're
that.
at as a city, though, man.
Let me bring this up.
All right.
Okay? If you have a bad present,
Yeah.
and you wrap it in beautiful wrapping paper,
Is
it still a bad present?
Still a bad present, Mr. Baskin.
It doesn't matter what the team name is.
But here's the here's the
come
deal.
on.
But no, I'm gonna give Ed some love. That's where this team has taken its fans with all the losing, that we worry about everything but the game. We worry about...
It's drama. It's been drama since 99.
You were laughing at me last night because I'm bringing up Johnny Manziel's visors.
Yeah.
I'm a part of it. Like, I'm watching him in pregame going, the hell's he got a dark visor on for? Why did he change the visor? Look at the you think in New England...
But listen, and here's the thing. In the real world, where teams win, those are like 30-second conversations.
Right.
They're like, hey, did you see a new visor on? He changed visors.
Right, it's
and
pretty
then he had a
cool.
good game.
Yeah. Then on third down, he completed a pass.
Yeah.
I know.
Now, we spend a half hour talking about the visor.
Right. And who changed it? Why did he change it? I got to ask the roadman and Tim if they've pulled hamstrings before. Because if you've pulled a hamstring,
we'll find out if they're kosher or
I've pulled
not.
a hamstring. If they're kosher.
Here's the thing, though, about the pulled hamstring. A normal quarterback,
Thanks, Scott.
it wouldn't affect them as much
We
as
don't
it
know
does
that.
Manziel.
We don't know that for a fact. Go ahead, Eric, the referee.
I'm sorry, Eric.
No, just saying, like a normal hamstring injury, probably Peyton Manning could play with a hamstring pull.
Hamstrings are tough, but my point is if you pull a hamstring, you're not running to the sideline like he ran to the sideline. I've pulled a hamstring before. You're not. Now, he may have had what did he say, a cramp? Didn't he say cramp yesterday?
He was cramping. He said he was cramping after that Gordon throw.
God, there's something I want to say so bad. I'll just.
What do you say? Say it. No, go ahead, say it.
I guess I can say it here.
I know where you're going.
Only LR, MR guys cramp up in big moments. Anyway. Kenny, all right.
Shame on you, Andre. Shame on you. You're so negative with that comment. How dare you make that comment?
Is that all you have, or negative comments?
Today, yes. But wait, do we have both of them up?
Yeah. There you go.
Trust me, I'm not trying to start anything. I'm not trying to get any articles on ESPN. But if you guys have pulled hamstrings, you know what hamstring pulls feel like. You don't pull. Deion Sanders said last night, he goes, the first time I've seen a hamstring injury happen when it hit on the sideline.
All right, I'll leave it as I open the show, gentlemen. Was the hamstring injury kosher? Kenny Rhoda.
I thought he got his bell rung because he was running to the sideline and tried to take on two players, and they crunched him over on the sideline. And he said he heard it earlier in the game on that throw where he fell down and was overstriding on that throw. Is overstrode a word? I don't think it is. That's why I've struggled with it twice here today, almost as much as Johnny struggled throwing the football yesterday. But it just seemed to be a nice term to use. And Andre, when you pull a hamstring, it feels like somebody shot you in the back of the leg, and you can barely walk, and you limp and you drag that. We've seen guys running down the field for a breakaway touchdown, and they pull up and literally fall over.
Absolutely.
Tim?
I've never pulled a hamstring. I couldn't run fast enough to ever pull one. But I could imagine if I did pull one, earlier in the game, I would tell the quarterback coach or the offensive coordinator, hey, don't call a rollout pass to the left. If my hamstring was hurting, I can't do that. I mean, so I would think that Johnny would have communicated that to the sideline that, hey, you can't call quarterback runs right now because I tweaked my hammy and, just keep me in the pocket. So I don't know. I agree with Kenny. To me, it looked like he got his bell rung on the sideline. He lowered his head instead of stepping out of bounds or throwing the ball away, whatever he could have done in that situation to avoid the hit. But it looked like he got his bell rung to me.
All right, hey, before we go into grade the team, I just want to ask you this, Tim, really quick. Yesterday, Brian Hoyer was planted into the ground. Absolutely planted into the ground. He looked like he couldn't get back up, and everyone was wondering who's going to come in at quarterback. He said, Kyle Shanahan said to him in his headset, he said, you have to get up. We don't have anybody else.
You don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice. Yeah. And he said he couldn't breathe. Can you walk us through that moment and tell us exactly what happens?
Oh yeah, no, I can definitely talk about that one. I've been hit many times where I couldn't breathe, and there's no worse feeling than you almost feel like you're going to die laying there because you can't get the air in you, and you're a little bit winded anyway because you're obviously running around and playing, and then you get hit like that and you just can't catch your breath. And Brian just all year long, I mean, he took some shots. I can't remember. I think it was the Houston game or something that he got drilled in that game several times. And we've seen this guy just continue to get himself up off the ground and continue to play. And I think that's a great sign for a quarterback, a great quality to have for a quarterback. And but there's nothing worse than knowing that you have to get up because you don't have a choice, like they said in his helmet. You have no one behind you. Johnny was out for the game, and you probably had to bring a wide receiver or somebody in just to take a snap and hand it off. But it's a bad feeling, man, laying there and gasping for air for sure.
The question is, did Johnny learn anything? Because Johnny even said after the game, he goes, Brian's tough, man. He stays in against a lot of hits. And I wanted to go, and you want to go, that's what you're supposed to do, Johnny. Like he literally said it about Brian, like he was surprised yesterday, guys. He goes, yeah, man, he's tough. He takes a lot of hits and stays in there. And it's like, that's what you got to do, Johnny. You can't just walk away after one big hit.
Kenny?
And you know what, guys? Yesterday, Dennis Northcutt wasn't going to be walking through that door to play quarterback. Kevin Johnson wasn't going to walk through that door to play quarterback for the Cleveland Browns if Hoyer wasn't able to go yesterday. So he had to suck it up.
Let me bring up one other point with you guys before we go to grade the team. How much, as we look at the quarterback situation, and we saw Manziel for the last 2 weeks, a little bit, there were so many people that had come up to me before the season started, before things even got moving. They're like, Manziel needs to start, Manziel needs to start, Manziel needs to start. How many of those people today One, I think, are a byproduct of the instant gratification generation.
One's not working today.
That they wanted him, right? What?
One's not working today. Not here. We're at another
the radio station.
Another radio station.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
He suddenly, his throat got to him, I think, today.
All right, boom goes the dynamite. Anyways, so, I mean, part of this is the instant gratification generation that wanted to see Johnny Manziel now. They had to have him now. They had to have him now. How many of them do you think now have buyer's remorse, or how many of them do you think will make excuses for him? We'll start with you, Kenny.
I think there are a lot of them. You look at this kid, and he wasn't mentally prepared to take on the challenge of playing quarterback at the NFL level. I think he thought it was going to be an easy transition and was shocked when he got to the NFL level and looked at the playbook and realized, okay, this is a lot different than what I used to run in college. And guess what? He didn't have Mike Evans to bail him out either when he would just throw the ball up for grabs like he did last weekend in the end zone when he said he shouldn't even have thrown that one in Pee Wee football. So I think there are a lot of people today that if they wanted him to be the starter from day one are realizing that, you know what, I was wrong. There was no way he could be the starter from day one.
Tim.
I agree with that. I think it's a shocking reality to a lot of people because of all the hype machine that built Johnny up to be this, whatever they built him up to be. And it's almost like a Tim Tebow situation where, Tebow was coming out of college and he did all these great things and everyone said he was going to be a great player, his first round pick and all this kind of stuff. And it just doesn't translate the style of play. It's going to take time. And, I think everyone's, a little bit shocked that, how behind Johnny is and just his understanding of the playbook, how physically he's overwhelmed out on the field because of his, he's just so undersized and all those things. His mechanics are all out of whack. So I'm sure there's a lot of people right now questioning, their wishes to get Johnny Manziel on the field and be their starter.
I hate to say this, but at least Tim Tebow won games. Johnny Manziel hasn't done that yet.
Eric is ornery. You get your Christmas picks and stuff this week.
Hey, Tim Tebow led his team to the playoffs. I mean,
beat the Steelers in a playoff game, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. Last one, wasn't that your last
time
you were in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of scary. All right, let me throw this other topic out before we get to grade the team too. Why, as a team, and I'm never going to say all pro again because the Browns had 9 of them voted on by the fans last week. Did you see that?
Yeah.
9 from the fans. We'll see how this thing shakes
Peyton
out.
Hillis is on the cover of a Madden. These
Tomorrow,
fans are
right?
the best.
I think we get the answers tomorrow. All right, so your all-star wide receiver, let's just say that, Josh Gordon. Why did the offense go backwards when he came back, almost like Ray Farmer had looked into his crystal ball and told you at that press conference when he said it? Let's start with Tim on this one.
I just think it's very tough to put a guy in who hadn't played in 10 weeks. He's not in football shape. He's behind in the offense. He doesn't have a great understanding for what's going on. But I think, Josh's skill set is one that, when you get him back out on the field, you just want to get him the football because he's so explosive and he's such a big target. And that's something this offense had lacked is, big plays from the wide receiver position. And you just think you could just plug him into the lineup and generate that. But, defenses were keying on Josh when he came back. And, I think it got Brian in quite a bit of trouble trying to force feed Josh a little bit. And Josh was running the wrong routes and, not really fighting for some balls that I thought he could have went up for and helped Brian out a little bit as well. So I think it was just a little bit of, your eyes kind of get big when you see that talent level of a guy like that walk on the field and you want to get him to football. But, I don't think he was necessarily ready to step in and contribute right away.
Kenny?
Maybe he shouldn't have been selling cars and should have been working out a little bit harder, preparing for when he was going to return to the National Football League, because I think he thought he'd just step right back in and pick up where he left off a year ago. And when you're out 10 weeks, you can train all you want, and Tim knows this. You can train all you want, but it's not football training. It's not game reps, live reps, getting hit and having guys compete against you. You think you're running good routes in practice, working with your buddy on a high school football field. When you get to the NFL level, you run that same type of route. You see what's happening. I think that had a lot to do with it with Josh Gordon.
My answer, quickly, and we just wrote it down as talk to amongst ourselves. And I think players pick up on this. And Tim, Kenny, you guys, I think you'll agree. You got to earn to be the number 1 wide receiver. You got to earn, and then Andy scratched that out and said quarterback. I think it changes the locker room when a guy walks in after 10 weeks, no matter how talented you are, and suddenly the offense is tilted towards you. I just feel like it's natural. We all are human beings. If a guy doesn't earn something, we all react differently. We were talking about this on Twitter yesterday because someone goes, well, the team looks different with Hoyer on the field. And I go, well, maybe it's a respect level. They don't mean to play harder. I think they play hard regardless. But don't you work a little different when you respect the guy you're working next to?
Absolutely.
I don't think Josh Gordon is truly respected in that locker room, no matter what his talent level is.
All right, let's bring Chris Fedor in and grade the team. He can do this quick, right?
Sounds good.
All right. Hey, Chris, I know you're on the phone line with us, too. You're with Tim. You're also with Kenny, too. So, and I know we normally take you. We're going to let you grade the team with us, too. Are you okay with that, Chris?
Yeah, let's do it, guys.
All right, let's do it. Let's just start rolling through this. All right, go ahead, Eric, the referee.
All right, let's start with the quarterback play. Brian Hoyer, 7 of 13 on 134 yards, a touchdown and interception. Johnny Manziel, 3 of 8, 32 yards.
All right, before you put up the screen, Chris, I'll let you go first. How would you grade the quarterback play yesterday?
Oh, gee, thanks, guys.
Sure.
Letting me go first on this one. Yes. I'll go with an F. I don't think Carolina's got a great defense. They've played better in the last 5 games, but neither Brian Hoyer nor Johnny Manziel showed me that they were doing the things offensively, or they could do the things offensively that you had to do to win the game consistently. So I would go with an F.
F for you. Kenny Rhoda, what do you have?
I wonder what Kenny owes him.
I'm trying to be more positive in grading all of my sports, teams and athletes. I won't give them a D, gentlemen. They threw a touchdown pass. Because of that alone, I didn't give them an F. They actually threw a touchdown pass. It was Brian Hoyer to Jordan Cameron who actually made it onto the field, so that's a good thing. So because they threw a touchdown pass, I went from what would have been an F to a D.
Tim.
I give him a C minus. I thought Johnny struggled again. I thought he looked just as bad as he did the game before. He looked lost both mentally and physically on the field. But I thought Brian did a nice job when he came into the game, considering he had no reps in the week of practice. But he was exactly what you want out of your backup quarterback. He was prepared. He understood the game plan. He understood what they were trying to do defensively. He put some points on the board. And, so I thought he played that role well. So I gave him a C minus.
Andre.
I went D+. I thought Manziel was an F-, but I'll give Hoyer credit for coming into the game, being prepared despite not getting any reps or anything else. I thought, despite what Chris said, I thought the touchdown, he used his eyes well to get the safety off. And I'll say this, their defense is, Luke Kuechly's one of the best in the game. They're a decent defense. They're not great. I give them a D+.
I gave him apathy. I'm tired of talking about the quarterback. I'll be honest with you. Brian Hoyer solidified himself as a backup in this league for a long time yesterday. He did exactly what a backup needs to do. I think he's going to make some money as a backup. I don't know that he's a starting quarterback. I think Houston will give him a shot next year to be a starting quarterback, or wherever he goes next year, he'll get a chance to compete. But if Brian did one thing yesterday and one thing only, and I know guys don't want to hear their backup quarterback, Brian proved absolutely 100% that he can be a very good quality backup quarterback in this league without a doubt for a long time. Next subject, let's go.
All right, looking at the running backs, Isaiah Crowell, 16 carries, 55 yards. Terrence West did not get a touch in this game, very surprising. He was actually behind Sean Drone.
Tim, you're first, running back.
I gave him a D. I thought Crowell had some nice runs. He had a couple explosive plays, but they couldn't establish anything consistent on the ground. A little over 80 yards rushing on the day. Too much penetration right in the middle of that offensive line. We all know about the injuries and the struggles they've had at center, but the offensive line struggled at the point of attack and really just couldn't establish anything consistent on the ground.
Chris Fedor, running back.
Well, I think because of the things that Tim was saying, I thought the offensive line did a poor job. And I think that made Isaiah Crowell in his performance a little bit better. Because I don't think he had a lot of room to run, and I think at times he created some room. But I'm going to go with like a D because I don't understand this running back thing at all, guys. Can somebody explain it to me? When is Terrence West going to play? When is Isaiah Crowell going to play? I don't think anybody knows. And you come off that game against Cincinnati on Thursday night where Terrence West had 26 carries and the offensive line was moving bodies and the running game was the biggest reason that you beat Cincinnati the first time. And then 1 week later, you don't give Terrence West the majority of the carries. So what the heck is going on with this thing?
Great points, Chris.
We go off of what they do in practice, Chris.
Well, and that's what I think we're learning too.
Yeah.
I gave them the running game. I gave them a C. Why? Because Brian Hoyer can run the ball.
Stop. You gave him
Did we not win? A C minus. Okay. Well, I don't expect it out of my quarterbacks, but I do. Remember how Brian can't run? Brian can't run. He had 2 runs. Second leading rusher for the Browns yesterday. Kenny, go.
I ended up giving him a D, guys. When you look at this running game, and Chris brought up a great point. Week to week, you don't know who is going to be the feature back. I understand if somebody's hurt and you have to change, but you're basing it off of we talking about practice, man. Is that, I mean, really, some guys are better in game situations than they are in practice. And if they've showed it in game situations and there's nobody really knocking your socks off that should be playing over them, how do you not give Terrence West the opportunity? You used a third-round draft pick on the guy, and he's been in and out, up and down, all season long. So I just think the O-line and the running back situation right now is a mess, and they got rid of Ben Tate, which I think was a dumb move back at the time they made it as well.
Preach. Ben Tate should still be here if you're going to still keep playing with these guys like this. I'll give him a C. As we've talked about all year long, it's really the offensive line that struggle. When the line gives these guys creases, they get into it. It's a C. But I'm with Kenny. If you have these many problems with Terrence West practicing, you shouldn't have got rid of Ben Tate.
All right, let's move forward. Wide receiver, throw the grades up. I'm just going to fly right by you there, Eric, the referee. Nice job.
We were actually doing defense, but.
Oh, you had wide receivers up.
Now.
This is where we waste our
keep
time.
Going. I gave him a D. I need more. But I need the quarterback to get the ball. I need the offensive line to block. It's more of an offensive thing than it is just on the wide receivers.
C-. I just, big play by Cameron, but there's just not enough guys that make plays when you need them. Too many balls on the ground.
Chris, one-liner on this.
I'll say C. Same thing that Dre said. When you need a guy to make a play, who are you going to go to? You can't trust Josh Gordon on the field, just like you can't trust him off the field. The only guy that you can go to in a pinch is through Hawkins.
Yeah.
Where's Miles Austin? It hurts now.
Miles Austin does hurt. It does.
Tim, wide receivers?
Yeah, I gave him a D-, guys. I didn't see the wide receivers getting any separation from the defensive backs, and at first I thought it was Johnny Manziel just not understanding where he was supposed to go with the football, but when Brian came into the game and those times where he did have a lot of time to throw the football, he couldn't find anyone to get it to. I just didn't see him separating, didn't see him making any plays. It would have been an F for me if not for the long touchdown pass to Cameron.
Yeah, that's true too. Kenny, you gave him an F-. That's unique and unusual for you.
Well, here we go. You ready? Sammy Watkins, Odell Beckham Jr., Mike Evans, Kelvin Benjamin, Martavis Bryant, Jarvis Landry. 380 catches between those wide receivers that the Browns passed on. 17, 28, 37, 40, 49 touchdown catches. That's all. F.
Bingo. Agree with that. Next.
The Browns defense, 209 yards given up on the ground. Jonathan Stewart looked like he was fresh again.
Let's start with Tim. Defense, Tim.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear. I gave him a C-. I thought that obviously they got gashed in the run game a little bit, but they created a couple turnovers. And, I think if you go on the road and you only allow 17 points, you give your offense an opportunity to win that football game. That's good enough to win a game, in my opinion. So I gave him a C-.
Let's go, Kenny.
I'm being positive again yesterday, guys, with the defense. 17 points on the road. I agree with Tim. It's a chance to win the game with turnovers, opportunities. Can't blame the defense because the offense couldn't cash in. So even though they gave up over 200 yards rushing, they still only gave up 17 points. And for a large portion of this season, we've seen the bend but don't break attitude and performance of that defense. So that's why I gave them a C.
Kenny, or I'm sorry, Andre.
I'll be kidding. I'll be positive. But I had to give them a D for this reason. They had the lead as a defense, and they gave the lead up. That's twice they've done that in the last 4 weeks. They did it against Indianapolis. They did it this game. That's a trend. When you get the lead, you make some plays and get your butts off the field. It's a D. Great that they gave it 17 points. Should have been 20. Wasn't there a missed field goal for Carolina? Winning defenses win when their team gets the lead. They gave it up.
Chris, defense?
Yeah, I'm going to go with D, and I think Andre hit the nail on the head there. The defense made a couple of plays here and there. But when Carolina really needed an offensive drive, they did whatever they wanted to. And I felt like they went like this prevent offense or something like that for about a quarter and a half. And when they had to turn it on, they're just like, oh, okay, we're going to go back to what we did to get this lead.
I went D as well, and as I look back through the rushing numbers, you know that Cam Newton's going to run the ball 63 yards yesterday. Right. I don't feel like they had a game plan for that yesterday. I don't feel like – I mean, you knew that they were going to have to run to win, and that's what they did. And the injuries make me have a little bit of sympathy on this team, but you knew what was coming at you yesterday, and they weren't effective. What's next?
Well, according to CBS, Garrett Hartley was subbing in for Billy Cundiff yesterday.
Yeah, I forgot about that,
He did a pretty good job, though, 2 of 2, hitting both of his field goals. What do you guys think about the special teams?
Special teams, I'll start with let's go with you, Chris.
A+. Plus, Travis Benjamin actually returned the punt, and he went forward.
He caught it.
He caught it, and it was more than just a fair catch.
Not bad for a rookie, right?
Rookie Travis Benjamin.
They called him a rookie during the game yesterday. Go ahead. What do you got?
I went with C, but I'm more along to go with Chris. Chris is right. They did catch some punts and return them. No ho-hum. Didn't give up anything. Didn't do anything wrong.
Hey, they did their job. That's a C, right? Tim.
Same, didn't give up anything, didn't really do anything. They were 2 for 2 on their field goals, which was a nice change to actually see some field goals being made. Coverage units were okay, but not a whole lot going on in the return game as usual. So it was a B for me.
2 weeks in a row, they didn't miss a field goal. Kenny, go.
Yeah, I gave him a C. You're right. 2 weeks in a row, 2 for 2 on field goals, and they kicked off 3 times yesterday, guys. That's an improvement over last week.
Yeah.
Last one, Coach. We'll start with you, Kenny.
I gave the coach a C minus. The quarterback situation is a mess. The running back situation is a mess. The defense played well, but the run game, they couldn't stop the running game. And I've seen this team just decline over the last few weeks. Playing like a Brown, I still don't know what that is. That definition is still up in the air for me. And so I'd C minus for Mike Pettin and let's remember, his entire staff.
Yeah.
Let's go, Chris, coaching staff.
All right, I'm going to go with a D. First of all, I still don't understand the running back situation, and here we are in Week 16. I think Mike Pettin has some responsibility, not full responsibility, but some responsibility to get through to Josh Gordon. Rob Chudzinski found a way to do it. North Turner found a way to do it. Mike Pettin's not getting through to Josh Gordon. And yes, part of it is Josh Gordon's a knucklehead and he's hard to trust. But I think the coach gets some responsibility in that as well. I also think Mike Pettin's responsible to some degree for the defense.
Yeah.
And the defense hasn't been good the last 2 weeks. So I would say that's a D performance by Mike Pettin. He's got to be a lot better next week against Baltimore.
Tim.
B minus for me. I thought the coaching was okay. I thought, they had decent game plans. They just couldn't stop them physically. I think the injuries have piled up on them on defense. They're getting blown off the football in run defense. Tackling was poor at times. But offensively, I think they're struggling, with a game plan, trying to come up with something that Johnny can understand and execute. And it's so diminished, and they've shrunk down the playbook so much that it's very hard to go out and be explosive on that side of the ball when you're trying to fit the scheme to Johnny's skill set right now.
Andre.
I think I went with a C minus, but a lot of things Chris said I agree with. We're too late in the season with too many question marks about who does what and where. And then guys, Johnny Manziel's in charge of Johnny Manziel, but when your fundamentals are that bad, I blame the coaching staff as well. That we're in December, and there should be a better basis for this kid to play off of. He looks worse than he did in preseason.
I went with a C on Mike. I think that he's been trying to tell us things all season long. I think maybe we haven't been listening all year. Ray Farmer did the same thing when Josh Gordon came back. And I think the reality of all sport is head coaches don't make all the decisions. And I think some of the decisions are coming from the front office. I think we all know that. But I think that we all want to sit here and live in fantasy sports land, especially as fans, and think that the head coach makes all the decisions. He doesn't. He doesn't. And when the owner who owns all the equipment in the room and signs your paycheck every week says, maybe let's do something.
I'll disagree with you, Andy. Some head coaches make all the decisions. This one doesn't here in Cleveland.
There you go. There you go.
I still think even the best coaches every once in a while have to listen to the owner. And that's when we see guys that are leaving, right? That's when guys want to leave. When they think they're right, and they may be right 100% of the time. But when it comes down to it, to be a billionaire, you better have a pretty big ego.
When Robert Kraft walks in the room, Bill Belichick listens and mumbles something, and he walks back out.
That's right.
Otherwise, though, it's pretty much that's how it goes.
I just think it's all of a different kind of level. And if you're an owner that says, you know what, my company's running great, everything's good, all I need to do is sit back and take paychecks, that's what Randy Lerner wanted to do. Don't you agree, Kenny?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He preferred that without question, but it never happened, and it's proven that Randy Lerner isn't a good owner for American football or across the pond football.
Well, I think what you want is somewhere in between. You want Randy Lerner's thought process and money, but you want somebody that's involved but knows when to get the heck out of the way.
Absolutely. All right, quickly, I just want to give you guys a chance to plug some things. Chris Fedor, what do you have coming up next in your life?
Well, Cleveland.com, guys. Obviously, a big-time Cavs game coming up, Christmas Day against Miami. They just beat Memphis yesterday. Obviously, they've got a game Tuesday against Minnesota, so Kevin Love playing against his old team. all Cavs fans that still want Andrew Wiggins can get a look at Andrew Wiggins and Anthony Bennett on Tuesday night. So you can follow me there in 92.3 The Fan. I'll be on the day after Christmas in for Bowling Fox from 2 to 7.
All right, if you need to go in for Baskin and Phelps, you can't too. That sounds good to me. Thanks, Chris. We'll talk to you later.
Offer, Andy.
Hey,
Happy holidays,
Chris, great
Chris.
job yesterday. I was listening on the postgame show yesterday. Great job yesterday.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
We'll talk to you soon. All right, Kenny Rhoda, what do you have coming up next?
I'm on today, tomorrow, and Friday, WHBC 1480, WHBC in Canton, WHBC.com, the TuneIn radio app. You can listen. We'll be talking about the Browns. Fool's Gold, 7 wins. Looks great, but are they as good as those 7 wins indicate? I don't think so. Chris mentioned the Cavaliers. Big win yesterday, even though Zach Randolph wasn't in. Good win over Memphis. They led from start to finish, but this is a big week. Minnesota, Kevin Love. It's the reuniting of 2 teammates right now of LeBron James and Kevin Love playing their old teams, one at home, one on the road, Christmas Day with LeBron going back to Miami. We'll get into that. And down in Canton, my area, we're still trying to figure out who the next head coach of Massillon is going to be. That's a huge story down there as well. So we'll have all that and a lot more in the 3 days that we're on this week at WHBC.
Happy holidays, Kenny.
Merry Christmas.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Merry Christmas to you. We'll talk to you soon. All right,
Be more
positive,
positive,
brother.
guys. No Grinches on Christmas.
No Grinches. All right, Tim, what do you have going on in your life coming up here?
Just a little last-minute Christmas shopping this week, getting ready. My boys' Christmas list seems to continue to grow and grow as we get closer here to Christmas. So just getting ready for the holidays.
How old? How old's your son?
They're 9 and 5, 2 boys.
9 and 5. So they're ready to roll.
Yeah.
They're ready to roll, man. They're excited. Yep.
Any scholarship offers?
Not yet. They're being looked at by a couple D1 schools right now, but no offers on the table.
Hey, Tim, let me just bring this up with you. There was a great story last week. It's just a college football story I want to bring up with you real fast. Joey Bosa was sitting in an office at 15 years old, ran off the practice field with Nick Saban when Nick was running a camp, and he didn't have a shirt on. They gave him a towel, and he walked in. At 15 years old, he was offered a full-ride scholarship. I just think that's amazing to me, and it's more amazing to me to think that his father said, let's pump the brakes on this thing. Let's go. I think they went to Panera Bread.
They were Buffalo Wild Wings.
Buffalo Wild Wings. Oh, of course. I should have known. They went to BW3. They sat down. They talked about it for a second. Can you just talk about that kind of pressure? Because you were there.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, and it's even more intense now, with so much more exposure these kids have to go into all these different kind of camps, and they're just getting in front of these head coaches, more and more often now nowadays with all the resources, and so it's a lot more pressure on these high school kids, especially a kid like Joey who's just such a physically gifted guy who's just obviously freakish talents, and it doesn't take long to look at the guy and say this guy's going to be special no matter what age he was, and so it's a lot of pressure on those guys, and kudos to his dad for stepping up and saying, hey, let's not get too involved too soon in this, because the pressure, man, it's going to only continue to grow as your career goes on, and to kind of pump the brakes on that a little bit and just let him be a kid and let him enjoy the process and let him enjoy playing football, I think is an awesome thing to do.
Yeah. Tim, thank you very much. Merry Christmas to you. I'll be talking to you in a little bit here, but thank you. We appreciate all your help.
Merry Christmas, y'all. Thank you.
Thanks,
Merry
Tim.
Christmas.
Take care, buddy.
Okay, quickly, what do you have going on?
That kid is talented. I'll be on the air today and tomorrow. I'll be in, then I'm off the rest of the week. I'll be at the Hooley House with Will Burge today, and we'll have Jabal Sheard join us at 5 o'clock. Hooley House in Westlake should be a fun show. Jabal Sheard will join us at 5 o'clock. And then I go on to the holiday and try to make 2 little kids happy and a wife happy.
No, I know the same story. I got the same thing. I'll be in Florida next week. I'll do the show from Florida with you.
Okay, so you're going to Skype in?
Yeah, I'll Skype in.
Awesome.
I got a wedding next Monday in Florida, but I'll be there and I will Skype in just to make sure we're on the same page. I'll see you back on News Channel 5. I'll be in at noon today, as a matter of fact, from the radio station. And then I'll see you on the radio this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Les Levine fills in for us at the end of the week on the radio. And then Mike Cairns between the two of us here, and then everybody else on our great staff here, including Eric, the referee, who maybe anchor or something or not. Maybe we'll put him on the air.
Really?
No, never. Anyways, thank you all for watching. We appreciate it. Merry Christmas to everybody. Merry Christmas to everybody here at News Channel 5 that makes this show possible. And next week, we'll talk to you on Monday, maybe 8 and 8.
Maybe 7 and 9.
That's it for Dogs on the Run. Thanks. Tim, can you still hear me? Okay, good. No, just try to go Tim full as much as you can. In fact, air more towards Tim being on the shot than us.
Okay.
That's fine. Are they rolling? All right, coffee, tea. I was trying to figure out what it was.
Coffee. Got to have it in the morning.
Just cream and sugar? Cream.
Just black.
Just
black coffee.
You should have been a baseball player.
No
I
kidding.
know, right?
I've never seen guys drink more coffee
Oh,
than
and
a
it's
baseball player.
disgusting, man. And now that they can't take the greenies or whatever, that's all they do is drink coffee.
Man,
Yeah.
And they drink it.